As you watch Tia's video, kindly like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that whenever I post a new video, you'll be the first to be notified. In the heart of the bustling village of Ozubulu, nestled between rolling green hills and the winding Oji River, lived a woman known as Mama Obi. She was not just any food vendor. She was the one everyone in the village spoke of with awe and admiration. Her food stall, a modest bamboo structure with a thatched roof, stood proudly in the busy market square, where traders, farmers, and travelers gathered daily. From the crack of dawn, the market would stir to life with the sound of traders hawking their wares, the rhythmic pounding of fufu and mortars, and the scent of roasting plantains filling the air. But above all these aromas, one scent stood out, the unmistakable, mouth-watering aroma of Mama Obi's food. The rich blend of spices, smoked fish, and sizzling palm oil carried through the air, wrapping around the market like an invisible spell, pulling in all who caught even the faintest whiff. Mama Obi herself was a striking woman, with a round face that was always glistening with sweat from the firewood flames and a gap-toothed smile that made her seem warm and welcoming. She was known to dress in brightly colored wrappers and large beads around her neck, the jingling sound of her bangles accompanying her every movement. People often remarked that she moved with the grace of someone who knew they were destined for greatness. It was said that even before she arrived in Ozubulu, she had a reputation for her extraordinary cooking skills. Some claimed she learned secret recipes from her late grandmother, a renowned cook who once served in the palace of a distant kingdom. Others whispered that she possessed charms handed down from generations of powerful women who knew the secrets of herbs and spices that could make men crave for more. Whatever the truth was, one thing was certain. Mama Obi's food had an irresistible pull. Men who once swore by their wives' cooking found themselves sneaking away to her stall for just one more taste of her spicy jollof rice, her tender, well-seasoned goat meat, and her special nkwobi that melted in the mouth. Even the Igwe himself, mighty King Obiora, was known to send his guards to fetch food from Mama Obi's stall, leaving the palace chefs in quiet frustration. Soon, the whole village of Ozubulu was under her spell. Men who used to rush home after work to enjoy their wives' home-cooked meals now made excuses to stay out longer. Traders would find themselves distracted from their businesses, their eyes constantly wandering towards Mama Obi's stall. Even travelers passing through Ozubulu would alter their routes, making detours just to taste the food they had heard whispers of in faraway lands. It wasn't long before her fame spread beyond Ozubulu to neighboring villages like Oba, Nui, and Ukbur. People journeyed from far and wide, some traveling miles on foot, just to experience the wonder that was Mama Obi's cooking. Her stall became a landmark, and soon people no longer called it the market square. It became simply Mama Obi's place. But behind every great success lay those who envied it. The other food vendors in the market had once enjoyed steady business, each known for their specialties. Ada, famous for her delicious egusi soup, once had customers lining up at her stall from morning till night. Chinyu, with her expertly grilled suya, had men fighting for a spot in front of her fire. And Nena, whose palm wine was praised by all, had once been the first stop for anyone seeking refreshment. Now, these women sat idly in their stalls, watching with bitterness as Mama Obi's customers filled every seat under the shade of the large Udala tree beside her stall. "It is not normal," Ada would mutter to anyone who would listen, stirring her soup absent-mindedly. "How can one woman take all the customers? There is something else at work here, I tell you." Even their regulars, the loyal men who had once sung the praises of their meals, had betrayed them for Mama Obi. Husbands who once delighted in their wives' meals at home now grumbled that nothing tasted quite like Mama Obi's food. The women of the village were distressed, and soon, even marriages were being affected. "Igwe, it is becoming a problem," the wives whispered in the palace. "Our husbands no longer eat at home. They say our food is tasteless." Despite the growing unease, Mama Obi continued to thrive. She moved with an air of confidence that only success could bring. Each morning, she would arrive at the market with a large clay pot balanced effortlessly on her head, humming softly to herself. She set up her stall with care, always ensuring that her mysterious wooden box wrapped in red cloth was safely tucked away in a corner where no one could see. Her laugh rang out loud and clear across the market, her voice carrying easily as she teased her customers and playfully haggled with them over prices. She had a way of making each person feel special, which only added to her charm. But not everyone was charmed. The whispers of jealousy grew louder, and soon, people began to question what truly made Mama Obi's food so irresistible. Some said she had a secret recipe. Others insisted she used special ingredients unknown to anyone else. But a few, the most suspicious of all, whispered that dark forces were at play. And so, the seeds of doubt were sown. It was only a matter of time before someone uncovered the truth behind Mama Obi's magic. The bustling marketplace of Ozubulu was once a place where food vendors coexisted in harmony, each thriving in their own way. The aroma of Ada's egusi soup used to waft through the air, mingling with the scent of Chinyu's sizzling suya and Nena's fresh palm wine. Laughter, gossip, and the cheerful chatter of traders filled the market square, making it the heartbeat of the village. But with Mama Obi's sudden rise to fame, all of that changed. Her stall had become the epicenter of the market, drawing crowds so large that it seemed as though no one else existed. Her customers no longer spared a glance at the other vendors. The benches under the Udala tree were constantly occupied, and the line of people waiting to be served stretched far beyond the shade. Ada, Chinyu, and Nena watched helplessly as their once thriving businesses dwindled to nothing. They would sit idly in their stalls, staring at their untouched pots of food, while the sweet sound of coins clinking in Mama Obi's hands rang through the market like a cruel melody. Ada, a tall and sharp-tongued woman in her late 40s, was the first to speak out. One evening, as the sun set over the hills, casting an orange glow across the marketplace, she gathered her fellow vendors under the ancient baobab tree. "This is not natural," she declared, her voice sharp with frustration. "Since when did men abandon their wives cooking for food from a common market stall? Something is not right." Chinyu, a younger woman known for her fiery temper, crossed her arms and scowled. "I have lost more than half of my customers," she muttered. "Even Obina, who once swore by my suya, now eats only from Mama Obi's stall. I know because I saw him yesterday, licking his fingers like a child." Nena, the oldest of the three, sighed heavily.
"It's not just the men," she said.
"Have you noticed how the Igui himself sends his guards to collect food for him? The palace chef is no longer needed, and even the elders prefer Mama Obi's cooking over the royal feasts." The women sat in silence for a while, the weight of their collective loss settling over them like a dark cloud. It wasn't just about business anymore. It was about their pride, their dignity as women who had once been the pride of their households and the village. "Maybe she has a secret recipe," Ada mused, her brows furrowed. "Something we don't know." Nena shook her head. "I don't think it's just the spices, Ada. I have seen the way people act after eating her food. It's as if they're under a spell. My own husband used to crave my food, but now, he barely touches his plate. Instead, he sneaks out to eat at her stall. Something is very wrong." Chinyu's eyes narrowed, and she leaned in closer. "I have heard rumors," she whispered. "They say she carries a wooden box wrapped in a red cloth everywhere she goes. No one has ever seen what's inside. And she never lets anyone near her cooking pot until the food is ready to be served." Ada's eyes widened. What if she is using jujus? The word hung in the air, heavy and foreboding. "We must find out the truth," Chinyu said firmly. "If she is using charms, we must expose her. Our families, our livelihoods, everything is at stake." As the days passed, the women grew more desperate. They watched Mama Obi closely, observing her every move. They noticed that she always arrived at the market before dawn, carrying her clay pot and the mysterious wooden box. She would set up her stall quickly, and before anyone else arrived, she would disappear behind a makeshift curtain for several minutes. When she emerged, the food would already be cooking, sending its irresistible aroma into the air. Ada, determined to uncover the secret, attempted to befriend Mama Obi. One morning, she approached the stall with a forced smile. Mama Obi, she said sweetly, your food is truly a gift from the gods. What is your secret? Perhaps you could share some tips with us. Mama Obi's face remained impassive, but there was a glint in her eye. Ada, she said, stirring her pot, the secret is patience and good ingredients. Nothing more. But Ada wasn't convinced. She lingered, watching closely as Mama Obi added spices from small clay bowls, muttering under her breath. Though the words were soft, Ada thought she heard something strange, like whispers carried on the wind. Meanwhile, Chinyu decided to take a bolder approach. Late one night, under the cover of darkness, she crept to Mama Obi's stall, hoping to find clues. She rummaged through the empty pots and baskets, but there was nothing unusual, except for the red cloth still wrapped tightly around the mysterious wooden box. Just as she reached out to touch it, a voice rang out behind her. Looking for something, Chinyu? Chinyu jumped and turned to see Mama Obi standing there, her dark eyes boring into her.
I
was just passing by, Chinyu stammered. Mama Obi smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Careful, Chinyu. Curiosity can lead to trouble. Chinyu fled, her heart pounding in her chest. She told Ada and Nena everything, and they all agreed. Something dark was at play, and it was only a matter of time before the truth came to light. As the village of Ozubulu continued to fall deeper under Mama Obi's spell, one young man would unknowingly stumble upon the truth that would shake the entire community. Okachukwu, the 20-year-old son of a palm wine tapper, had grown increasingly frustrated watching his father, Okonkwo, fall victim to Mama Obi's cooking. His mother had cried herself to sleep too many nights, heartbroken that her husband now found fault in every meal she prepared. I will find out what Mama Obi is doing, Okachukwu promised himself. I will not let her destroy my family. And so, while the other vendors plotted in whispers and wives wept in despair, Okachukwu began his own investigation, one that would uncover a truth darker than anyone in Ozubulu could have imagined. Okachukwu had never imagined his father, Okonkwo, would abandon his mother over food. Their home, once filled with laughter and the aroma of his mother's cooking, had become a place of silence and heartbreak. He had watched his mother break down in tears too many times, and it pained him to see the once proud woman reduced to sadness. He knew something wasn't right with Mama Obi's food. How could one woman's cooking hold such power over the entire village? Even Igui and his council of elders preferred her meals over the carefully prepared palace feasts. The more Okachukwu thought about it, the more convinced he became that something sinister was at play. One morning he decided to follow Mama Obi. Under the cover of darkness, before the first rooster crowed, he left his home and hid behind the dense banana trees near the market. He crouched low, his heart pounding in his chest as he saw Mama Obi arrive, balancing her heavy clay pot on her head and holding her infamous wooden box wrapped in the red cloth. She moved quickly, with the confidence of someone who had nothing to fear. Okachukwu watched closely as she set up her stall and glanced around to make sure no one was watching. Satisfied that she was alone, she carefully untied the red cloth around the box and opened it. Okachukwu squinted through the thick leaves, his eyes widening in horror. Inside the box were dried herbs, strange-looking bones, and a small, dark calabash filled with a thick red liquid. He felt his stomach turn when he saw Mama Obi lift her wrapper slightly, squat behind the stall, and collect her menstrual blood into the calabash. She whispered incantations over it, stirring it with a small carved stick before pouring the dark liquid into her pot of simmering soup. Okachukwu gasped, his hand covering his mouth to stifle the sound. He couldn't believe what he had just witnessed. His father and all the men of Ozubulu were bewitched, their minds ensnared by a woman using such an unclean practice. Trembling, he hurried back home to tell his mother. "You saw what?" his mother screamed, clutching her chest in shock. "She is using her menstrual blood, Mama," Okachukwu said breathlessly. "That is why her food makes men crave it. It is not natural. We must tell the Igui." His mother, though shaken, held her son's hand firmly.
"We need proof," she said.
"If we accuse her without it, people will laugh at us." Determined, Okechukwu decided he would gather evidence and expose Mama Obi once and for all. The next morning, he returned to the market with his mother, pretending to be a customer. They sat down at a distance and watched closely as Mama Obi served men with her usual smile and charm. Okechukwu timed his moment carefully. When Mama Obi was distracted with a large order, he crept behind the stall and quickly lifted the red cloth, revealing the calabash inside. He scooped out a small portion of the thick liquid with a banana leaf and hurried away before anyone noticed. By midday, he and his mother were standing before the Igwe's palace, demanding an audience. The Igwe sat on his grand throne, his gold-adorned crown glistening under the morning sun. The council of elders sat beside him, fanning themselves and whispering amongst each other as Okechukwu presented his evidence. "Igwe, this is what Mama Obi puts in her food," Okechukwu said, holding out the banana leaf filled with the dark red liquid. The palace herbalist, an elderly man with a long white beard, took the sample and sniffed it. He recoiled almost instantly. "Igwe, this is menstrual blood," he said, his face twisted in disgust. Mixed with charms and herbs, a wave of shocked murmurs rippled through the palace courtyard. "Are you certain of this?" the Igwe asked gravely, his voice booming across the hall. "Yes, Igwe," Okechukwu replied firmly. "I saw her with my own eyes." The Igwe's face darkened with fury. "Summon Mama Obi at once." Within minutes, the guards dragged Mama Obi into the palace. She tried to keep her composure, but there was a flicker of fear in her eyes. "Mama Obi," the Igwe said sternly, "we have reason to believe that you have bewitched this village with dark magic. Open your wooden box." Mama Obi hesitated, her hands trembling slightly. "My Igwe, I—" "Open it," the Igwe roared. Reluctantly, Mama Obi untied the red cloth, and the court gasped in horror when they saw the contents: bundles of strange herbs, bones, and the infamous calabash. The herbalist inspected the contents and turned to the Igwe. "It is as Okechukwu said. She has been using her menstrual blood to bind the men of Ozubulu to her food." The courtyard erupted in outrage. Women screamed in disgust, and men who had eaten at Mama Obi's stall spat on the ground in revulsion. "Mama Obi," the Igwe thundered, his eyes blazing with fury. "You have disgraced our village. You are hereby banished from Ozubulu forever." Mama Obi fell to her knees, pleading, "Please, my Igwe. I only wanted to survive. Enough," the Igwe waved his hand. "Guards, take her away." The guards dragged a wailing Mama Obi through the palace gates and out of Ozubulu, never to return again. With Mama Obi gone, a wave of relief washed over the village. Husbands who had been under her spell returned home to their wives with their heads bowed in shame. They begged for forgiveness, realizing the spell had clouded their judgment. "I should have known better," Okonkwo said to his wife one evening. "Forgive me." Some women forgave their husbands, grateful to have their families back. Others, like Okechukwu's mother, were not so easily swayed. She chose to remain single, rebuilding her life with dignity rather than accepting a man who had been so easily tempted. Business in the market returned to normal. Ada's egusi soup filled the air with its familiar rich aroma, Chinyu's suya sizzled once again, and Nena's fresh palm wine became the drink of choice for celebrations. The Igwe issued a royal decree that from that day forward, all food vendors must undergo inspections to ensure the purity of their ingredients. No one wanted to experience another Mama Obi incident. Okechukwu became a hero in Ozubulu, praised for his bravery and sharp mind. Elders told his story to younger generations as a lesson about greed and deception. And so, the tale of Mama Obi became a legend, a cautionary story whispered from mothers to daughters and from fathers to sons, reminding them that sometimes, what seems too good to be true may indeed hide dark secrets. And Ozubulu, having learned its lesson, thrived once more, wiser and stronger than before. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.